yeah, the operating performance is critical, right? That's really what they're looking at. Yeah. Future potential.
I noticed that throughout your career you've been with Four Seasons hotels. Would you consider going to another hotel company, or are you planning on staying with Four Seasons?
Well, I'm talking to a headhunter now. Hand out my business cards if you know anybody. I'm looking for work. No. What I just told you about the culture in particular. I look at how other GMs run their business and the things that they have to deal with, and I just go, oh, you've got to be kidding me. We're coming up to union negotiations, which is always a fun time in every hotelier's life. And we're in a band of 4 hotels, right? There's a Hyatt, there's a Westin, and there's a Renaissance, excuse me, and ourselves. For whatever reason, we're the bargaining group. And some of the things the GMs come up with as ideas of things that we should be looking for to gain, you can't do that. Culturally, right? I would not do that to my employees, whether a union or whatever, I'm not going to do that. So I'm always the hand that goes up and say no. So I carry a little bit of a stigma when I walk into the room because they look at me and go, well, you're not reasonable. Well, because that's what I'm charged with, protecting that. And I'm not going to let that go. Right? That's important to me as a person. Dignity, pride, and satisfaction. Right? That's how I get my dignity, pride, and satisfaction. So I'm sure I could go and work for company A, B, C, D and probably earn more money, and I don't think I'd be happy, quite honestly. Right? Because it's not about the paycheck. Okay? Does that answer that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I fell into it. Interesting question. Completely fell into it. I moved to London, grew up in Gloucestershire, 100 miles west of London. Always wanted to go to the big city. Packed up 2 suitcases, went to London. Okay, I've got to eat. First rule, I'd get a job in a hotel. So I got a job in a hotel. Kind of BS my way into a job in a kitchen. Couldn't cook to save my life, but got a job in a kitchen, go figure. Of course, they figured out I couldn't cook quite quickly. See, you're not very good at this, are you? But for whatever reason, they gave me an opportunity because the chef was a drunk. Okay, and every day at 11 o'clock, we'd sit in his office and appear that we're drinking coffee. Well, red wine in a coffee cup from 50 paces. Of course, it looks like coffee. So the chef by lunch service was already conked, and I just have 1 glass of wine and then move it off to the side, and then I administer the whole kitchen. Payroll, ordering, all the HR stuff. If there was a food and beverage profitability question, I was the one talking to the food and beverage director about food cost and labor cost. And you seem to be pretty good at this. So I kind of fell into it. So thank God that chef was a drunk. I won't tell you the other things that were going on in that kitchen. It's a wild time. Another question?
Yeah, who owns the Four Seasons in Toronto, the original? The one on Avenue Road?
I'm
Four
sorry, which
Seasons
one?
in Toronto. Who owns that?
The Jarvis Street?
No, the other one, the big one.
The Inn on the Park?
Yeah.
That's been bulldozed. It's a Lexus dealership.
Not that. The one downtown.
Oh, Yorkville. Yeah, that's owned by HCA, Hotel Capital Advisors, which is a branch of Kingdom.
Okay, that's what I was going to
Sorry, there's so many
Yeah,
Four
and the Inn on
Seasons.
the Park has been bulldozed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I've stayed at many Four Seasons, and I've stayed at many Fairmonts. And I have to tell you, it's just as in Canada, I have more memorable experiences from Fairmont.
Sure.
It's simply my preference.
Yeah.
And I've stayed at the downtown Toronto one. I've stayed at Inn on the Park several times in the old days. Inn on the Park was a fabulous place.
It was,
Fabulous.
Absolutely.
Really. Probably one of the best ones I've ever stayed at.
Yeah.
But Fairmont stands out for me. I'm just saying as a customer.
If you ask any Canadian, name a luxury hotel company beginning with F, they will answer Fairmont.
Not Four Seasons.
90%.
But if you ask somebody who travels the world, it's a different story.
Right.
Yeah.
If you ask an American client the same question, 90% will say Four Seasons.
Sure.
So
Sure.
interesting, though, isn't it? Because quite frankly, we don't have a Canadian presence anymore.
No.
When I joined the company in '86, we had hotels in Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal,
Yeah.
Ottawa, 2 in Toronto, Vancouver. We had a little place called Menaki Lodge, right? A seasonal resort. We were a Canadian company. Well, you know, we've outgrown those marketplaces. Okay, our model changed. The Fairmont model, especially with the CP thing, I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit of a divergence then. But yeah, you're 100% right. Absolutely.
Why did you change the transnational sort of style or business model of the Four Seasons? And it's because the cities were too small, or because you wanted to have a sort of more apparent sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Pardon me. Just presence in bigger cities or more luxury markets?
It's any company is about growth, right? The growth model in the late 70s and early 80s clearly became US based, okay? And the first hotels were Boston, DC, Philadelphia, kind of the Northeast corridor. Then in the late 80s into California. We had, I think, 5 hotels in Texas when I first joined. It's the 80s, right? Remember the 80s? Dallas, oil money, right? We had 2 hotels in Houston, 1 in Dallas, 1 in Austin, 1 in San Antonio. I don't know how I remember all that junk, but it's in there, I guess, right? So to grow as a company, right, Canada's only going to get you so far, right? There's only so many places in Canada you can build a hotel where you're going to make money. If you truly want to be an international company, you better get in the crossroads, right? You've got to get to New York, you've got to get to Paris, you've got to be in London, Tokyo, Hong Kong, whole different company, right? And it sets you on a stage then, okay, which attracts people to come to you and say, I want you to operate my new hotel in Hong Kong, right? You're on a world stage then instead of a national stage. So that's really where that crossroads comes. At some point, the real estate doesn't support your model. Okay, and I'll use, try and think of a good example of a property. Seattle, the Olympic. Beautiful hotel. Who's been to the Seattle, the Olympic Hotel? A few of you, okay? You walk in and you go, wow, it's a historic hotel. But you look at it, and once you get under that first look, you go, ooh, boy, this thing needs a lot of money spent on it. And then the deal falls apart because we need you to spend $50 million, Mr. Owner, and you say, I don't want to spend $50 million. Well, okay, because our guest expectations increase, right? I don't want to have to step into the shower and the bathtub. I want a 5-point bathroom. I want technology, I want this, I want that. We have to evolve our product to get to that point to make you happy. If you're not willing to put that in from an ownership perspective, we're going to have to part company, right? So the deal moves on. Okay, and that's just part of the cycle, right? Hotels come and hotels go. We just lost our property in Aviara, San Diego, which for me is, personally a challenge because I put 3 hard years of my life into that property. I've got a lot of friends in that hotel, but it's a business deal, right? So ownership isn't willing to put the money into it. Okay, you've got to move on. There will be other hotels that come up. Okay, so just part of the business cycle, right? Okay, Margaret's starting to pace towards me, so I think the hook's coming. I feel it.